Welcome to Mom is My Emergency Contact podcast, real conversations, no filter. I am Lisa, your host. Before we begin today's episode, I want to offer a gentle but important trigger warning. In this conversation, we'll be discussing domestic violence, including emotional and physical abuse. Some of the experiences shared may be difficult to hear, especially if you've lived through something similar. Please take care of yourself while listening. Pause if you need to, step away if you need to. Your nervous system matters more than any podcast episode. Today, I am honored to sit with a woman who has survived domestic violence and who is courageously choosing to share her story, not for shock value, not for drama, but for truth, for awareness. For the woman listening right now who may feel alone, confused, or questioning her reality, this is not just a story about abuse. It's a story about survival, about reclaiming power, about what it looks like to walk through fear and still choose yourself. If you're ready, let's begin. So we have Becca. She is the owner of Blink by Becca in Latham, New York. She is a survivor of domestic violence. She's a mother of two, wife, and has been working tirelessly on her own healing journey by creating a safe space for others while enhancing their inner and outer beauty. Thank you, Becca, for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
I'm excited too. So, just to give the listeners some background, I came across Becca because she's part of a bigger network of women entrepreneurs, and she posted a post that I looked at it and I'm like, okay, there's a lot of words in here. What's going on here? And I read it and I was literally um, in awe because, you never think who has experienced something like this. And it was such a raw story. It was your truth and it was
Mhm.
empowering and it moved me. And then I reached out to her and I'm like, oh, I would love for you to talk about it on the show.
Mhm.
So, Becca, before we get into your story, I wanted to ask you more about your business. So, Blink by Becca, what is
Yes.
that?
So Blink is something that I started in 2024. And it stands for Brows Lashes Inc.
Oh,
So I do all sorts of brow services, lash services, and then I do permanent makeup. And then this past year I recently got into like minimal tattooing. Not like huge pieces, but just the occasional small tiny tat.
how did you get into this?
So, I started with cosmetology school in 11th and 12th grade. My mom was a hairdresser for, I mean, it's been well over 40 years now. So we always had a salon in the house. She was doing my hair and nails since a young age. And I kind of just realized that that's what I wanted to do. Not just like the beauty aspect, but her clients were family to her. And like we had a small shop in my house growing up, and all of her clients, I mean, they were like older little ladies, and they soon became like when she had me and my brothers, it was they were kind of like extended family. They would watch us while she worked on another client, and like it was just very it was nice. It was a close-knit thing, and then I ended up going to work with her all the time when she finally, um when we got older, and she branched out to having a salon and different things like that. And then one thing that she used that really inspired me, I guess, she worked in salons for years, but then when she got older, she really wanted to use it for a purpose. So she worked in an Alzheimer's assisted living home doing everyone's hair, and I would go with her and I would do their nails, like little like manicures and stuff. And I was probably like 12 at that point. So, and then she also worked for I think 16 or 18 years at the VA hospital. She was like the barber, the men called her. So she always she was like wanted to be in that kind of setting. And I loved going with her. So I went to aesthetic school in 2015. Um, but at that point in my life, that's when it kind of took a turn. Um, my ex-boyfriend, we were together in high school, and then my senior year, we broke up. I dated someone else, and that guy ended up cheating on me. So after high school, I reconnected with the old ex-boyfriend. And that was when I was starting aesthetic school and working as a hairdresser on the side, and everything kind of just took a turn. So it was very hard.
Wow. I mean, your mother. Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's just such a beautiful thing. And for you to see that and be involved in it, you doing the nails
Yeah.
oh my God, how cute is that? Your mom sounds amazing. And for you to see that. And I can now see why, even in your business, and I see your posts, like you said, it's not just beauty, but you're really
Yeah.
looking for a woman to leave or person to leave you feeling amazing. And
Yeah.
I love that about you. But obviously, you have a story to tell. And, I said to you, just tell the story. So wherever you feel is the most appropriate point to begin,
Mhm.
that's where you begin.
So I met him when I was actually 13 years old. Um, Looking back now, I was a child, you know, and I have like a November birthday, so I started school when I was younger, and um, so I was turning 14 in ninth grade. So I met him the first month of high school, and it was kind of like at first he wasn't someone that I was into. I was really into like the scene boys, like the emo boy. And this guy was, muscular, and he already had a tattoo at 15, and like he was just not something that I was typically into. And but something about it, he asked me to the homecoming dance, the first dance of the year, and I said yes. And it was kind of after that that I think he just didn't let me go. Like he just like was like, you know,
Hmm.
claws in right away.
Hmm.
And at that point it was like the manipulation, the controlling, like why are you hanging out with these people and stuff like that. And he was also a smoker at 15. Um and he just wasn't a good student. He had the bad boy reputation. Um he was constantly breaking up with me like every other week. And I guess that just kind of hooked me because I was like, well, I can prove to him that, I really do want this. And it was just an ongoing thing for years until I was going in my uh senior year, and I met a boy, and we started dating, and I was like, "Oh my god, he's going to like get me away from this toxic relationship." And that relationship was really great. We were best friends. Um and he had a broken home life. My parents took him in as another son, and we had a really great relationship until we didn't. And it was like after a year and a half, out of nowhere, I was like getting this rental property set up for us to move in together when I graduated high school. And my brother stopped by, and my brother was at Siena College at the time, and he told me that he had seen my boyfriend partying at Siena and he was sleeping in some dorm rooms. I was heartbroken, absolutely devastated. I mean, I thought we were going to get married and like all of this. I was just completely devastated. Um, and that's when my ex found out, and he reached out to me and immediately got back together. Uh, he asked my mom to propose to me. I was 18. Um, and she said no. He didn't ask my dad because he knew that my dad would say no. My mom said, she just got out of a relationship. She's not ready. She's 18 years old. Like, what are you doing? He
Mhm.
didn't listen, of course. He still proposed to me. Um, I said yes. And that's when I felt like, oh my God, I finally got him. Like, we're meant to be together. He's my first love. Like, I was just so happy. And that's when it totally just changed. I remember the first time that he ever got physical with me. It was horrible. I mean, I try to piece together things, but the only things that I really remember is like the proposal, and it was the same night. Um, and then he got mad because I was still connected with the boy that I was dating, his family. I was going to a family party for like his cousin or something, and because me and his cousin were close. So, and then when I got back with my ex, he was upset that I was talking to this other guy's family, and that's when I mean, I just remember like him on top of me, and there was like a corner of like a doorway, and the corner of the doorway, like my head was like hit into the back of that. The tile on the kitchen floor, I mean, he was just my head was bouncing off of the tile. Um and I ran for my life that night. And
This is the same night he asked you to marry him?
yeah,
So, and was he like punching you? And
he was not punching. Um his thing was like holding me down. He would grab my face so hard that I would have marks and bruises.
Mhm.
Um, Strangling, that was his thing. Um, and just like, I remember he took my foot one time and like hit himself with my foot. I thought my ankle broke. I thought my heel bone. I was like, that hurt so bad. But that was years later. Um, but this night, and I just, we were living with his brother at the time, and that was the other thing. He had me like move in right away. Like he wanted full control, like everything. So we had been dating. He proposed, and there was like this door, like front door to the house that no one ever used, and it was kind of like in a secluded area outside. And I just remember sprinting to that and trying to unlock the door, and then I ran out and his mom lived next door, and she remembered, like, she came out because heard me screaming, um, and she told me right then and there, she's like, "I need to drive you home. He he is just like his father, and he's never going to change."
Wow.
So, that was I should have gone home, but I told her, "I can't go home. I don't want my parents to know." Like, I was so embarrassed.
Mm.
Um, and then I don't really know what happened after that. I think I just black things out.
Yeah, of
But,
course.
um, yeah, that wasn't the first time that she told me that, he's just like his father and he'll never change. So, it was kind of like this knowing of, I should get out of this, but at the same time, I was trying so hard because I was so in love with him, and I wanted things to be different, and I
Mm.
wanted to have that, like, "I'll fix you." I mean, I've gone through a lot of therapy to realize that I've always been a fixer,
Mhm.
and I think it comes from, I have an older brother that is a drug addict, and I've seen struggle with that, um, and you're always just hoping for them to change, and it was just I was used to the chaotic and the yelling and and so then when, my boyfriend raised his voice to me, I didn't blink an eye. So,
Mm.
looking back on that, I noticed that now.
Mhm.
And then at that time, I was starting aesthetic school, and that was a very isolating point because he became so and I don't know how it happened. It was just overnight that, like, I couldn't have a phone, I couldn't wear makeup, I couldn't wear leggings, I couldn't have a job that I had to quit. Um, I did hair, and he didn't want me doing men. Um, and I just had to kinda step back. I had to get a job that was approved by him. Um, I worked and I'm thankful for the experience that I did, but I worked with, as a direct support professional for, like, people with disabilities, and that was it was a good job, but I wasn't able to, work at to the fulfillment that I wanted to,
Mhm.
um, because I was always late because he was driving me, and I was, you know, "Oh, his car was messed up this day, so then I couldn't get to work." So, eventually, I got fired, and I told him, like, "I need to go back to doing hair." Like, it's it's just not that's just what I need to do, and it was just a fight every day, and then going to school, aesthetic school, I didn't wanna get close to anyone because I didn't wanna explain anything, and it was very hard, and the school was actually right across the street from where we were living, so he could keep an eye on me, and he knew when I was leaving school, and he just, like, always knew where I was. I mean, it was before you could track the iPhones and stuff, but, I mean, he would just need to make sure what I was doing at all times. But then, of course, he was, cheating and behind my back doing this and that, and it was just a very one way, and, um,
Let me just ask you
Yeah.
one question. When he was having these controlling behaviors, from your perspective, what were you thinking about that? Were you thinking, wow, he's really controlling? Or were you thinking that he cared?
No, I always knew it was controlling.
Mm-hmm.
I knew I that's one thing that I'm very proud of, that I'm self-aware, and I know when things are wrong. And
Mm-hmm.
I knew things were wrong right away. I knew that no man should ever tell me what to do. And, I wasn't going out with my cleavage down to my belly button. I was wearing a sweatshirt and leggings, and I always had acne. So to not be able to wear makeup, that was a huge thing for me, because he just wanted to strip me down so much, where I just didn't even feel pretty myself. Um, and I was just so embarrassed, because I mean, my mom would show up to the house that we were staying in, and she would beg me to come home, and that broke my heart, because I've always been like, it's me and my mom, like, we are best friends. And for him to do that, and he knew what he was doing. He was putting a wedge in between us, because he knew how close we were. And I think there was a lot of jealousy over the years as well, because he didn't have a family like mine.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't want me to have that. So, and she would always ask me, like, "What are you doing? Why? Oh, you need to take a shower. Like, you look like, what is going on?" And then it wasn't until, like, my phones were getting broken, my laptop that my dad bought me was broken, um, and that's when my parents were like, "Okay, something's going on." Like, but they couldn't convince me to go home, because if I did, it would just be constant blowing up my phone. "I'm gonna change. I promise this, and I promise that," and then I would fall for it, and then it would just go right back to normal.
Did they know the extent at any that during that period? Did they know that he already put his hands on you? Did they know any of that?
No,
Wow.
they just thought he was controlling.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it wasn't until the last night that I ever saw him, that they knew.
Wow. And how long from the first time, just to give people like a timeline of how long this relationship was, because
Mhm.
you're saying that it was off and on, continuously
Yeah.
abusive. So
Mhm.
how long from the first time he put his hands on you to the moment where you're like, I'm out?
Only 2014 or 15 that we got back together. And then I left him in 2017.
Okay. So it was it was years, not like couple a
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
Okay. And through that entire time, it was him hurting you in some
Mhm.
fashion. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So let's go to that night where it was the last time you saw him, and kind
Mhm.
of just give the listeners a sense of how did day begin, and into the point where you left.
I had to get to a point where I finally realized, like, I have to just call it quits, and I had to do something to make him hate me, because I didn't trust myself to not go back at the
Wow.
time.
Wow.
Like, why am I putting myself through this?
Right.
And I knew that I never wanted him to be the father of my children. There was no way that I could forget what he's done to me.
Mhm.
And I wanted to be a mom since I was young. That was my goal, to find my husband and have kids.
Mhm.
And when I started realizing that too, I was like, well, yeah, what am I doing? And I started going to church with my mom again. And I mean, there was something really powerful that happened at church that I was like, just another ding,
Mhm.
like, and so I left and I was staying at home with my parents. He showed up in my driveway drunk one night and was just, up and down and I'm all change and this and that and but I could tell that he was drunk and he told me to come outside and I just wanted to get him off of the property. So I went outside and I should have never gotten in that truck because he was drunk and he immediately when I got in, he pulled out of the driveway. And then we were driving around. I was like, "What are you doing? Like bring me home." And he was driving crazy. So I don't know if I told him to like, yeah, bring me back and I'll like get my bag or something.
Mhm.
But I had to get out of there. And so he brought me back and I was about to get out of the truck and I went to like check something on my phone and he went and went to grab my phone and I snapped because he has grabbed my phone so many times. He has broken so many phones of mine. And I looked at him and I said, "Don't you ever touch my phone or my property ever again." And then he backhanded me and he broke a blood vessel in my eye. So I had to like just calm down and I was like, let me out of the trunk because the truck was locked. And I ran inside and I was crying and at that point my mom saw my eye and my face was already like swelling up and I couldn't hide it anymore. So he had words with my dad, the cops were called, and I went down to the police station that night and got a restraining order. But it turns out I already had a restraining order against him from one of our previous fights that I totally like blacked out on. And so they just reissued that one and yeah.
Wow. So then at that point, you never saw him again.
I had to with my dad. So I had my car at the time. He had his webs into everything that I owned and everything. We had dogs together. It was yeah, just everything was entangled. And he when I got my new car, he immediately took it as his own. It was in my name. The loan was both of our names, but the registration and the insurance was in my name. Um, and it didn't have like a front plate bracket on the front, so I never put the front plate on. It's kind of like a sportier car, and he held my car from me because he was driving it every day. I never drove my car because once I got it, that was his car. And so my dad and I had to show up with the police to get my car and to get the plate for it. And then after that, I had to contact him about one of our dogs had a vet bill, and we had to figure that out. And then eventually I was like, I just didn't care. If anything was still like entangled with him, I just didn't care. I was like, well, like not like the loan and stuff. My dad helped me refinance my car and stuff, but like little bills here and there. I'm
Mhm.
like, that's his problem. He can
Mhm.
figure it out. I blocked his phone number. And after that, I mean, but it never ends because he lives right a mile away from me.
Like
And
now?
mhm,
Did he move?
mhm,
Girl.
yeah, because where we were living with his brother, it has like um his mom's house, his brother's house, and then he bought the house right in front of them. And but he bought it after my husband and I bought my childhood home.
Oh.
So like we've always been very close in proximity, but he moved away. Like he was like up in on the mountain somewhere, and
Mhm.
like and then I find out that he bought a house right down the road from me. And so I still like I see him drive by all the time. He has the audacity, if I'm outside with my kids, to beep at me. Yeah.
Okay, Becca. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
all right, before we go into that, Jesus
Mhm.
Christ.
Yeah.
Girl,
I know. Yeah.
you are a strong woman. God.
Thank you.
Okay. So, but then the relationship ended and
Yeah.
you had enough. And it's interesting. It's interesting when when you said I snapped, and it's
Mhm.
like all these years of you submitting to him, and you're like
Yeah.
I'm done.
Yeah.
And I feel like when you said I had to be a certain way to get what I wanted, you were on survival mode. You were
Yeah.
like, I need to get out of this truck. What do I need to say and do so I can get the fuck out?
Yeah.
And you did just that. Like I think anybody would have done that to get out. And I'm glad
Mhm.
that you did the therapy and you went through that. And I can't imagine all the women who haven't done that.
Mhm.
But you stood up for yourself and you said, you know what, I want to heal, and
Yeah.
you did that, and that's something to be very proud of yourself. But moving forward, so now you're married, right, and you have
Mhm.
kids.
Mhm.
I a lot of women who may still be in it or on their way out, their thought is always, how will I find somebody and who would want someone like me? So, can you talk a little bit from that period
Mhm.
where you're doing your healing journey and then you met your now husband?
Yeah. Um, I guess it was just always I mean, from the first time that he hit me, I think that deep down I always knew like he's not the one.
Mhm.
And I didn't want to believe that. Um, but I always knew I mean, I just trusted that God had my husband out there. Like I knew that there was someone out there,
Mhm.
and I just had to find him.
Mhm.
And I don't know how or why, but that was always on my mind that like that I wasn't in control, that I was like, well, I just I don't know how to explain it. Like I just trusted that there is the perfect man out there for me, and I just haven't met him yet. But and like some people are like, "Oh, like did you go out looking for him?" No. I had fun in the meantime, but I was very quickly aware that, like, okay, this guy that I'm talking to right now is not the one. Like, I was
Mhm.
very, like, right away, I was like, "No, not the one, not the one." And then I was like, "I'm just gonna wait and see, like, he'll show up eventually." And then my husband slid into my DMs, and I was on his Instagram, and I saw a beard and a motorcycle and and some cars, and I saw a picture of him and his son, and I was like, "Oh, he's a dad." And he looked like a really good dad. So I was like, "Okay." I was like, so then we kind of met and hung out as, like, friends kind of first, and the first time I met him, then that turned into, "Do you wanna go grab a drink?" It turned into dinner, and then I invited him back to my parents' house for a bonfire, and we just were inseparable ever since. And as soon as I was sitting down across from him at when we were having dinner, I was like, this is so weird, like, I'm talking to my best friend." Like,
Mm.
it was just very easy and, like, and I could tell he was just very genuine. He cared about his son, and, like, he was also searching for that person to settle down with,
Mhm.
and I was like, immediately, I was like, "This is him. This
Mhm.
is this is my husband."
Mhm. Did the other question is that a lot of women feel like, how can I tell this guy that what I went through?
Mm.
Like, what did that feel like and what was his reaction?
Um, he was very comforting, and it was hard at first. I don't know if I told him everything right away, but it was like I know that um, told him certain things right away. Like, yes, it was physical abuse, and I never went into details until, like, we were a little further along, and now, I mean, there's still things that'll come up that he's like, "Oh, I you haven't told me that before." And I'm like, "Oh, I haven't." Like, there's just,
Mm.
like, still things, but he was very comforting, very just reassuring, and I remember the first time that I went out, that it was for my sister-in-law's bachelorette party, and I was wearing this dress that I felt really good in, and I loved this dress, and he was complimenting me and, like, saying that I looked so good, and then I was like, "Are you sure? Like, are you sure this is okay?" And he was like, "Yeah, why wouldn't it be?" And at that moment, I was like, "Oh my god." Like, he doesn't care what I wear. I was like, "Oh my god." Like, so, and it's just so funny how your brain is, especially because I was so young, and, like, my brain was just programmed to this certain way of living, and I'm still working on, like, undoing it, but yeah, but he was really, I mean, he's constantly just so supportive, and he's great. He's the best.
That's good. That's good to hear. I think a
Yeah.
lot of women feel like, how could I share this
Mhm.
information with someone that I'm in love with, and would he judge me?
So, a couple things that I was scared of that,
Hmm.
um, but he was, and the way he reacted to those things, it just reassured me even more that he was great.
Yeah, the green flag was his behavior.
Yeah.
So you said your truth, and his response was not judging, not criticizing, not leaving.
Mhm.
And that was the green flag to say, yeah, this is a person who's going to support me.
Yeah.
Um, so with all of that, and I gotta say this, because I was gonna ask you, where are you with everything? And I appreciate your vulnerability of saying, I'm still working through it.
Yeah. It's a I mean, it's a daily thing. I mean, the littlest thing will send me into like a flashback kind of thing. And then there's so many times that I don't remember. I know that subconsciously I've blocked out some
Hmm.
things,
Hmm.
but yeah, it's crazy.
Wow. Well, the good side of this is that there is obviously a I don't want to say happy ending because there is no ending, but it's the fact that you got out. Like that was the most important thing, and you found yourself. And now here you are telling your story. So what prompts you to share? I mean, social media is you're going through the you're reaching the masses. You don't know who's going to read it, but what prompts you to share that story, number 1, and number 2, how did you feel from the response?
Um so I with my clients over the years, I've shared things with them and connected with different people over my story. So it wasn't like I had never shared it before. Um, but I think like being a business owner now, and I wanted to give back to I've always wanted to somehow connect with like the community with my business, and I was like, okay, how do I do that? What's something that's like near and dear to my heart? And I found the YWCA, and I started doing like this teddy bear project. I call it. Um, and it was kind of this thing that I rolled out in October, Domestic Violence Month. So there was that, and I was like, well, if I'm gonna do this, I need to be authentic and share my story. And so I sat down and wrote it for probably a good week. And it was like, I just wrote a little bit at a time. I was like, I'm not going to try to like push this out immediately, but um, I know that it's something that I wanted to do. And the response was great. It was, some people knew, some people didn't know. Um, And I actually had some people reach out that are very close to him. Um, and yeah,
Hmm.
there's his ex now. Um, she had 3 children with him, and she reached out to me. And so we like stay in contact here and there.
You
But
bonded through that experience.
yeah.
Let me ask you this. How did it make you feel?
Oh my, it felt like a weight lifted off and empowering, and just like I kind of feel like there was me before that and then, like, me after that. Like, because no, like, I don't wanna, like I want to blast his name out there, but that's just, like I don't that's just not me. I think that that would be taken wrong. Um, and he smears his name plenty enough just by
On
himself.
his own, on
Yeah,
his own.
so I don't have to do that.
Yeah.
But, um there was, when I started that fundraiser with the YWCA, I printed out flyers for the project that I was doing, and since we live very close to each other, I had my husband, 'cause I couldn't do it, I was too nervous. I had my husband go and put one up at the Stewart's right across from his house. So, I want people to know, and I wanted him to know that I'm out here doing things, and I'm open about it, and I am, like, I'm not hiding, and
Mhm.
and I kind of I want him to know that, like, you can't hide it forever. Like,
Mhm.
it's kinda like this, I don't know. But so that was empowering to go hang up my
Mhm.
having well, my husband did it, but
Your voice, you're
yeah.
empowering yourself, going through that process is empowering.
Yeah.
Um, so I think my last question I have is if there's a woman listening to this story
Mhm.
and she may be in it and is afraid to leave or thinking there's no way this is my life, because sometimes women think that this is my life,
Mhm.
it's just this is how it's going to be.
Yeah.
What would you tell that woman?
Run as fast as you can. Um, but I mean, that's easier said than done. I would tell her that just take it slow if you need to, but know that there is someone else out there. Like, there's someone for you. And it's it's hard. It's definitely hard, but there's so much more to life than surviving. Like, it's it's hard. It's really hard.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, just listening to your story is motivating enough and
Mhm.
inspiring to say that, there is more to life than staying with someone who is, bringing you down. But,
Yeah.
the other side of it is you're thriving and
Mhm.
you're standing on your with your voice, and you are in a place where you're healing, and it's way better than it was when you were in that situation.
Yeah. And it definitely I mean, my faith throughout the years has really stuck with me, and that's what I kind of leaned on in that time. Um, but even, if you don't have family around you, like, to just find anyone, just one person that you can talk to, and then a little bit, it'll start to get the ball rolling, and then I think that is what also really helped is because then you finally get some people's inputs, and you're like, "Wait, this isn't good."
Right. Right. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I want to thank you so much for sharing this. I think we went from, going through some hard times, and now here you are thriving with your business and you're being an entrepreneur, and how exciting that is. And you have kids, and
Mhm.
your mom, and you're also a wife, and now you're speaking your truth. I mean,
Yeah.
how amazing is that, right?
Yeah.
So where can we find you? Where's your location? Tell us all that good stuff.
So, I am at the Sweets on 7 in Latham, suite number 5, and then my website, blinkbybecca.com, and
Mhm.
then, Blink by Becca on Instagram and TikTok.
Yeah, and I want people to know that uh, these dainty tattoos that she does are so beautiful and feminine, but yet empowering. And she doesn't know this yet, but I've been dying to reach out to her because I need one, and I have no tattoos, and I've been dying to have something small. So we'll see when we do that. Um,
Yes, absolutely. I'll be here for you.
oh, that's awesome. Again, Becca, thank you so much for sharing the story.
Thank you so much for having me.
No, this was great, and
Yeah.
I know there's women listening, and it's very inspiring to hear the other side, right? That
Yeah.
you have thrived. So for everybody else, if you heard today's story and it resonates with you, or if you see yourself in parts of this story, please know this: you are not crazy, you are not weak, and you are not alone. There is
Mhm.
help available. I will be putting in the links, the National Domestic Violence Hotline. They offer support 24/7. It's 1-800-799-SAFE. You can also text START, START, to 88788 to chat safely. And if you are in immediate danger, of course, you can call 911. To those who are listening outside of the United States, we encourage you to search for domestic violence hotlines in your country. Many offer confidential and anonymous support. So, again, if this episode moved you, share it with someone who needs it, because this is Mom is My Emergency Contact. This is where we tell the stories of women that whisper, and we remind you you are not alone. But before you go, let's make sure you're subscribed to Mom is My Emergency Contact podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts, on Apple, Spotify, and all major platforms. If you'd rather watch the conversation, head over to our YouTube channel just to search Mom is My Emergency Contact and hit subscribe. And if you want bonus content, because Becca and I are going to talk very briefly a little bit behind the scenes, and you want in on it, hang out with us on Substack. It's the Mom is My Emergency Contact After Hours. The link is in the notes for you to subscribe to. And if you have a story that is too crazy to be true, and it's like, oh my God, I can't believe this is my life moment, we want it. Email us at momismyemergencycontact@gmail.com, all one word. Your story might end up on the show. So again, this is Mom is My Emergency Contact, and we remind you again, you are not alone. And until next time, bye.